Thank you for joining us today for this edition of the Fresh Fire Ministries podcast. And this particular podcast is entitled Faith, Fun, and a Touch of Foolishness with Dr. Paul and Brother Aaron. I hope you'll stay with us for the next 20 minutes or so as we delve into some fun, faith, fun, and foolishness on the broadcast today. Let me very quickly remind you that if you've not already done so, please go to Facebook, Fresh Fire Ministries, Hogansville, Georgia, and click on the follow button there, or YouTube, Fresh Fire Ministries, Aaron McCullough. Click on the subscribe button there. Well, all right. We're glad to have Dr. Paul back again on set today. And we're going to start probably a 3-session series or something. I think that's what we'd plan kind of on Charlie Kirk and things like that. But this is going to be, the first one will lead up quite naturally to the second one and then the third one. But the first one is going to be on Halloween. So my buddy, Dr. Paul, is going to pull this together. We're going from Halloween to Charlie Kirk. So, amen.
And we'll try and explain that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we as Christians, as you well know, Aaron, not only baptize people, but we have been known throughout Christian history to baptize pagan holidays into Christian holy days. And that's the case for Christmas, which is just around the corner, and Easter, and Halloween, which just ended. Halloween was first observed by the Celts, and that takes me back in my British roots, because the Celts pretty much dominated in parts of the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, and Ireland, as well as across the Channel in Britain. And the Celts had a big influence on their cultures way back when, and they had a New Year's Day celebration, and it was on November the 1st, and it was known as Samhain, and that meant the Lord of the Dead. It was their festival, and they sincerely believed that the souls of the dead would come out on November 1st and walk around as ghosts, goblins. You'd be a big goblin. And ghosts and all kinds of things, ghosts and goblins and ghouls and witches as well. Well, they did this for years and years, but then the United Kingdom became Christian. And the Pope wanted to change this pagan festival called Samhain into a Christian celebration. So he took a holy day that was used to remember or commemorate Christians who had not only lived their faith, but had died for their faith, people we call martyrs. Okay. That's right, martyrs. And so he moved the date that they normally had this celebration from May 13th to November the 1st. And the night before November the 1st came to be known as All Hallows Eve. The eve before this hallowed day. And the word hallow is an old medieval word meaning a saint or a holy person.
Thus, All Saints Day in our world.
That's right. Yeah. We call it All Saints Day or All Hallows Day. All Hallows Eve came to be Halloween. It was just kind of run together. Now, to me, we've just celebrated Halloween, but right before Halloween, we had a true martyr.
Yes, we did.
And Charlie Kirk was killed on a campus where he was witnessing to students, sharing his faith, and encouraging them to do what many faculty in our elite universities don't do, to really have open discussion of what is true and not to be brainwashed.
And that so eludes me as to why we have lost that ability to have civil discourse, civil discussions in America today. For anybody who disagrees with somebody to actually sit down and have an intelligent conversation with them is totally foreign to America today.
It really is, and I hate to say this, but I think we have to be open and honest about it. You know, when I started out in college, I was somewhat liberal. I would say a little bit to the left, being a young college student. But two things changed me. Number one, I was in debate. And in debate, you have to look for the facts, not people's opinions.
Right.
You have to look for hard facts. And I was trained to do that. And also trained to look at both sides of an issue and to debate the issue. Well, and the second thing saved me is that I became a Russian history major. And so I studied Marxism and communism, and I'm flabbergasted and discouraged and somewhat demoralized that New York City would elect a Marxist.
I'll even say amen to that.
And that Seattle would do the same.
Yeah.
Because anyone who has studied Karl Marx and his philosophies knows that Marxism has never worked and is directly responsible for at least 100 million people being tortured and murdered in Russia, Eastern Europe, China, Southeast Asia, and any country that has embraced Marxism.
That's unbelievable.
It's just crazy. And what you said about how we're just so disappointed that people can't thrash out the issues. Think about Berkeley, California.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, they were so inflamed on the issue of free speech.
Mm-hmm.
And here, when you have Charlie Kirk's organization having open discussion on the campus, what does the extreme left wing, that I don't think it's just a liberal left anymore.
Oh, it's a militant.
It's become a lunatic left. In many ways, they're just not thinking, and they believe in violence. 35 to 40% of liberals on this lunatic left believe they're justified in being violent in opposing anyone who disagrees with them. But here is Charlie Kirk just wanting to sit down with students and answer their questions, deal with any issues that they were facing.
I love this format.
I know. Just wonderful.
Open microphone.
It's a true liberal format.
Yeah.
Where true liberalism, where you're looking at both sides of an issue.
I mean, it's just this simple. I might say, that wall that we're looking at is green. Prove me wrong. And you make it do it.
That's right.
You've done it.
That's right. It was.
I heard this on the radio today, and I think this kind of fits into what we're talking about. A person was talking about First Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, yes, your First Amendment rights gives you the opportunity to be heard, but it must be coupled with the discipline for you to listen to others. I mean, it's not just, I regurgitate all over you and walk on. No, it's got to be that give and take. And if you will listen, you may just learn that you were wrong.
That's right.
Yeah.
I never really learned much from speaking. I learned from listening.
I've quoted this a lot. I'm sure I probably quoted it in some of our other podcasts. But the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I can't think of his name right now. The author of that said one of those habits was seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Absolutely right.
If you and I are disagreeing on something, other than the fact that you would be wrong if you disagree with me.
According to your opinion, and I already just said I don't trust opinions.
That was quick.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
we should go into it. If we have an honest disagreement, I should say, Paul, let me hear you.
That's right.
And you talk to me. And then I said, now, you hear me. And we may still walk away. Agreed. Disagreed rather, but at least we've heard each other and we know
That's right.
why. I'm taking your time. I don't mean
No,
to do
no,
that,
no. That's
but
what it's
I
all
have
about.
much more respect for somebody who will tell me why they disagree with me, even if I don't buy into it, than I do those who will run around behind your back and talk about you and run. No, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But we'll talk it out. And if we can't agree, we just can't agree.
And that's so sad to see in so many blogs and social media. People just have vitriolic attacks on others, and they reveal themselves to fail to really listen to what people say.
That's right. That's right.
And we're going to get to that when we're going to touch on two representatives that I have zero respect for, because they're very good at mischaracterizing other people without really listening to them. And they really symbolize what's so much wrong with our politics today. And they, after Charlie Kirk was killed, assassinated, they criticized him not just mercilessly, but ignorantly.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. Two U.S. representatives, and just demoralizing when you think about how America has the greatest government on earth and how it is being demoralized in many ways.
True. True.
By the way, let me share with you what Charlie Kirk explained was his purpose on the campuses
Sure.
to one newspaper, and I've got the quote here. He says, "This is where on the college campuses you have to try to point students towards ultimate purposes and towards getting back to the church." He says, getting back to faith, getting married, and having children. Right now, we're not having enough children, just like in Europe, and it bodes not well for the future.
And
He
the children
says,
we are having aren't coming from marital relationships by and large. It's just
and
hooking
our
up.
prisons are full of inmates who have grown up without good fatherly influence.
That's
and
right.
that's a big problem.
Right.
He says, now that is the type of conservatism that I represent, and I'm trying to paint a picture of the virtue of lifting people up, not tearing them down, not just staying angry, but having reasonable conversation with
Sure.
them. And I
Sure.
really like that. Now, I brought several articles, really shows us the good and the bad associated with Charlie Kirk's ministry and his assassination, and how he really got into this, which is quite fascinating, you know.
Sure.
This one comes from the Washington Examiner, September of this year, and it says, Kirk was a prophet for a generation, adrift, a blazing torch reigniting faith in an America that had all but forgotten how to pray. That's
a big statement.
That really is. And here the article asks this question, and this is not a religious publication. This is a news publication. It says, how does one man, barely out of his teens, when he started Turning Point USA, become the unlikely architect of a spiritual uprising? And we read, at 18, can you remember being 18? No, I didn't think so. You're so much older than me.
Yeah.
Just teasing.
Not.
He just looks it, Lord. Just looks it. At 18, he skipped college to launch Turning Point USA in 2012, not long ago. A scrappy outfit aimed at reawakening young people on godless campuses. It's sad that so many of our campuses have become somewhat godless. Like Vanderbilt University pushed avowedly Christian organizations off campus. He says kids were trading crosses for hashtags, special media signs. He says, the article says, Kirk married Erica Francevy in 2021, and she had a great influence on him, and it attributes much of his success to her, just like I attribute much of your success to the lady on the board over there named Mary Ann.
This is
You're
true.
much better half.
No argument.
Good. Now, she was a podcaster, and I love this term, with a steel spine devotion to Christ.
Amen.
Amen. Their home became a war room of prayer and podcasts, really seeking God's help in ministering to students. He said, Erica showed me grace isn't weakness. And he began because of her, he began weaving Judeo-Christian threads into every podcast. And he said this, the West is the best because of Christianity.
Amen.
And Western civilization is in deep trouble in that we've been encouraged to forget that truth, that the Christian faith is that what really civilized Western Europe.
Yeah.
And now we've moved away from it. We must seek Christ, he said, first, and our national and cultural resurgence will naturally follow. And here's this news magazine says his rallies felt like revivals.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right. You got it right. Now, he says something that I think we've also forgotten, and we've let the left convince us of a lie. He says, no more tiptoeing around the wall of separation between church and state, which Kirk blasted as a myth created by activists. And he's absolutely right. Now, the author of the article, as someone who has a law degree, the article says, I have a law degree, I can affirm that Kirk was mostly correct about this. The Constitution does not mandate that there be a wall separating church and state.
Amen.
Only that the state make no laws that establish or endorse a particular religion. America was founded on Christian principles.
Amen.
It was Baptists who were saying, hey, we don't want a state church. We want the freedom to worship as God leads us to worship.
If you want to delve a little bit deeper into that, little shade of meaning here, that mythical wall of separation of church and state, if you play it out and say, okay, it's all right, but it was not intended to separate the church from government.
Mm-hmm.
It was intended to separate government from church.
That's right.
Yeah.
Couldn't say it better.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
But
We're getting the high sign. So
I know. So let's close with a quote from The Week magazine, which sent me.
that'd be W-E-E-K, not
Yeah.
W-E-A-K.
That's right, The Week magazine. It's kind of a little, it says it's in the middle, but it leans left. But it made some great observations about his memorial service after he'd been killed, and we had this big memorial service where the president attended. And this, I love what Trump says here, President Trump. He says, Kirk did not hate his enemies. That's where I disagreed with Charlie.
I remember that.
I hate my opponent. Well, I wish he had more Kirk.
Yeah.
I really do, but I appreciated what he said. And here's from The Week magazine now, a somewhat, little bit left-leaning magazine, says this: the most remarkable moment of the memorial service came from Kirk's widow, who had influenced him so much. This is what Andrew Egger in The Bulwark said. I forgive him, his widow said, I forgive the man that killed him because it is what Christ did. Erica Kirk said of her husband's alleged killer, adding that Charlie wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. And that's a great witness.
Yep.
From the dead, completely different from the Celtic religion. Here's a man who wanted to reach people who might hate him. And here's his widow saying, I don't hate the man that killed him because Christ wouldn't want me to do that. Amen?
Amen. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
That's right.
And I thought about it, we'll go out on this, but while you were talking just now, I was thinking that, now my thoughts done left me. Well, anyway, it must be time to close the podcast.
No, that's a good sign.
You were talking in one part of it about Kirk was so successful because he skipped college. And I thought, oh yeah, well that liberal bad, yeah, but
it's sad
yeah.
to say that though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Colleges aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
They used to be for free debate, open discussion, and promoting godly values. All of the Ivy League schools were started with that intention.
The second thing that I remembered was that even as Charlie Kirk, every one of us, without exception, Christian, non-Christian, whatever, when we die, our life will continue to testify, whether it be good or bad. It will continue to testify.
That's true.
Let's us make sure it's good. Amen. All right. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us next time right here on the Fresh Fire Ministries podcast, Faith, Fun, and a Touch of Foolishness with Dr. Paul and Brother Aaron.